Arya, honey, mom's not as young as she used to be. The company needs a successor, and you're all grown up now. Are you willing to come back and take over? If you don't want to, I understand. I know I've let you down all these years. On the phone, her mother's voice was laced with a familiar note of resignation. Arya couldn't count how many times her mother had called, pleading with her to come home and inherit the family business. Just as the woman on the other end was about to give up, Arya's lips curved into a faint smile. "Mom, I've made up my mind. I'm coming back to Silver Creek to take over the company." "Really? Arya, you really mean it?" Her mother's voice soared with undisguised joy. "Yes, I'm coming back." "Wonderful, I'll make all the arrangements immediately. We'll have you back in Silver Creek in 2 weeks. Remember, your 2 brothers in the Croft family have been so good to you. You should spend as much time with them as you can. Once you take over the company, you'll be incredibly busy, and with the distance, you won't see them much." Her mother hung up, still bubbling with excitement. The call had barely ended when the door to the dance studio was thrown open. A girl in a white dress stood there, her wide eyes radiating a pure, innocent charm. "Arya, don't I look beautiful in this dress?" It was Cassie, the girl Arya had taken under her wing. Arya's gaze fell on the dress, and her voice instantly turned to ice. "Cassie, take that dress off. Now." Cassie, feigning innocence, pirouetted in front of her. "Don't I look good in it, Arya?" Julian and Miles both said I look amazing. "Cassie, are you deaf? That is my dress. I told you to take it off." Arya had no patience for games. She had seen Cassie's true colors long ago. "Arya, I just love it so much. Can't I just borrow it for a little while?" Cassie's eyes welled with tears, a picture of manufactured distress. Arya found it laughable. Cassie had stolen her dress and was now playing the victim. "Take it off," Arya commanded, her voice cold. It was the custom gown she was supposed to wear for her competition. "No, just for a little bit. I'll give it right back, Arya." Suddenly, Cassie stumbled. The delicate fabric of the white couture gown tore with a sickening rip. A gown like that, once torn, was ruined beyond repair. Arya stared at the shredded silk, her entire body trembling. She couldn't hold back any longer. She raised her hand and slapped Cassie across the face. "Ah, Arya, you hit me!" Tears streamed down Cassie's face instantly. Julian and Miles Croft arrived to find this exact scene. Cassie, in a torn dress, clutching her face and sobbing quietly. The 2 men immediately rushed to Cassie's side, shielding her. Miles tilted Cassie's face up, his brow furrowed with concern, a frantic worry in his eyes. Seeing the red mark blooming on her cheek, his anger flared. "Arya, how could you be so vicious? Look at her face, you made it swell. I never thought you could be this cruel." Beside him, Julian, who had been silent, took off his suit jacket and draped it over Cassie's shoulders. He looked at Arya with a coldness she had never seen before. "Arya, you've gone too far. No matter how much you dislike Cassie, you don't hit her." As he spoke, he stroked Cassie's hair tenderly. There, Cassie. Don't cry." Arya looked at the 2 men defending Cassie, a bitter chill seeping into her heart. "Julian, Miles, there's a limit to your favoritism. She stole my dress and then she ruined it." "She's a thief." "Arya, don't be so nasty, a thief. It's just a dress, so it's torn. What's the big deal?" Miles's face was grim. "No matter what, you shouldn't have hit her. She just thought it was pretty." "There was no harm intended," Julian added, his eyes still filled with disappointment. Arya felt a surge of indignation. "That was the dress for my competition in 2 days. She destroyed it. What am I supposed to wear now?" It was a gown that Julian and Miles had personally commissioned for her, a one-of-a-kind piece that had taken a team of artisans months to create. And Cassie had destroyed it. A flicker of recognition crossed their faces. They seemed to remember. Beside them, Cassie shot a furtive glance at the brothers, and fat tears began to roll down her cheeks again. She bowed repeatedly to Arya. "Arya, I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I shouldn't have touched your dress without asking." "I apologize. Please, you have to forgive me." The moment Cassie apologized, their hearts melted. Julian pulled her into a protective embrace. "It's okay. It's not a big deal. She's the one who can't let things go. I'll take you to get your face looked at." Yes, yes, your face is what's important. Arya hit you way too hard. Miles chimed in, following them. Cassie, her eyes still red and doe-like, murmured, Julian, Miles, please don't blame Arya. It was my fault. You just have a child's heart. She's the one making a mountain out of a molehill, Miles soothed her gently. From now on, whatever dress our Cassie wants, you just tell me. I'll buy you every beautiful dress in the world. If you want it, it's yours. Cassie let out a small, watery laugh. You're the best, Miles. Arya watched the three of them walk away, a sharp pain piercing her chest. She stumbled, leaning against a table for support. Once, Julian and Miles had spoiled her just like that. They would move heaven and earth to lay the world at her feet. Now, for another woman, they didn't even care about the coming-of-age gift they had personally designed for her. Her father, a firefighter, had died saving Mr. Croft during a massive warehouse fire. Overcome with guilt, Mr. Croft had brought her into his home, raising her as his own daughter. The two Croft brothers had doted on her, their care meticulous. When she was a child, if anyone so much as bullied her, Julian and Miles would fight them relentlessly to defend her. They cherished her, loved her, so much so that even Mr. Croft suggested she would one day marry one of them and become a true daughter of the Croft family. As they grew up, Julian inherited the Croft Corporation, and Miles became a famous actor. Their adoration never wavered. Once, when she was feeling down, Julian flew halfway across the world overnight just to be with her. For one of her dance competitions, Miles turned down a leading role in a blockbuster franchise. Arya's own mother and father had divorced, and her mother had been busy building her career for years. She had been begging Arya to return to Silver Creek to take over the company. Arya had considered it her mother's health was failing, and she wanted to be there for her. But Julian had held her tight, refusing to let her go, saying he would never let her leave. Miles had even cried so hard about it that he trended on Twitter. She had once believed in the fantasy they created that she would choose one of these two devoted men to marry. But everything changed. It all changed when Cassie, the girl she had rescued, appeared. Over the years, living with the Crofts, she had never wanted for anything. Her father left her a substantial inheritance, and her mother sent her a generous allowance. Arya wanted to do something meaningful, so she asked the Crofts to formally adopt Cassie, offering to cover all the expenses herself. She had met Cassie by chance, rescuing her from a violent domestic situation. 6 months ago, Cassie had called her in a panic, claiming her stepfather was abusing her and trying to marry her off. Moved by pity, Arya had rushed to save her, bringing her into the Croft home. During that time, worried about Cassie's fragile state, Arya kept her close, including her in every meal and outing. This gave Cassie ample opportunity to get close to Julian and Miles. Julian, who had never given another woman a second glance, whose first thought was always of Arya, began to change. After Cassie's arrival, his first thought was always of Cassie, his protection reserved for Cassie. Miles was the same. His free time, once devoted to her, was now spent orbiting Cassie, defending Cassie. The two men who had once promised to marry her had changed. At this point, leaving the Crofts and returning to her mother was the best choice. She had 2 weeks before her departure for Silver Creek, enough time to settle her affairs here. Arya closed her eyes, pushing the thoughts aside. She went back to her room to continue practicing her dance. When she finished and came downstairs for dinner, Cassie, Julian, and Miles were already at the table. Miles was placing food on Cassie's plate, while Julian was patiently peeling shrimp for her as CEO, demeaning himself to coax a smile from Cassie. The three of them chatted and laughed, eating without any thought of waiting for her. Before, Julian and Miles would never touch their food until she had taken her first bite. Now, that too had changed. Arya curved her lips into a wry smile and found a seat. As soon as she sat down, Cassie, seated across from her, spoke up, her eyes shining with anticipation. Arya, I'm about to graduate. I was thinking, could I join your dance company? No, Arya's refusal was blunt. Cassie pressed on immediately. Why not? Arya, I love to dance, and your company is the best in the city. I really want to join. You have zero formal training. How could you possibly join a professional company? Arya found Cassie utterly ridiculous. Dancing isn't something you do with your mouth. Her company performed contemporary ballet, a discipline unlike any other. It required extreme flexibility and a deep technical foundation, skills usually cultivated from the age of 3 or 5. As Cassie herself said, her company was the best in the city. Every one of her dancers had over 20 years of experience. You couldn't just walk in off the street. Cassie's lip trembled as she mumbled, "I know I don't have any training, but I can learn. If you just give me a chance, I'll work super, super hard." "Arya, please say yes, please." "No, Cassie, there's a limit to this nonsense. I can indulge you in other things, but my dance company is not your playground." Arya's rejection was stern. The company was her life's work. She had poured her own money and soul into it for years. She would not let Cassie tarnish it. Arya's firm stance made Cassie's eyes well up. The sight of her, so fragile and wronged, was truly pitiable. "Arya, you won't let me join because you look down on me, don't you? I know I come from a poor background, but it's not my fault you don't have to humiliate me like this." At Cassie's tears, Julian and Miles immediately bristled with protectiveness. Julian stopped peeling his shrimp, his brow furrowed. "Arya, how can you humiliate Cassie like that? So she doesn't come from money, that's no reason to look down on her. I'm truly disappointed in you." "Yeah, our Cassie didn't grow up a princess like you, but she tries so hard you can't just dismiss her because you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth," Miles added angrily, wiping Cassie's tears. "When did I ever look down on her? If you didn't, you'd let her into your company. All she wants is a chance to dance. What's so wrong with that?" "Miles, it's a professional dance company, not the high school drama club. You can't just let any stray cat in." Arya laughed, a bitter, incredulous sound. Miles's face darkened. "Arya, everything you have, the Crofts gave to you. Don't be so ungrateful." Arya had thought she was numb to their preference for Cassie, that their words could no longer hurt her. But hearing that accusation, a dull ache spread through her chest. "What the Crofts gave me? For years, my mother has contributed to my expenses, and my father left me an inheritance. I live in your house, but I've been paying my own way. And for the record, I never looked down on her. If I did, I wouldn't have begged your family to take her in the first place. Get your facts straight." Arya stood up and left the dining room, unwilling to argue further. She was utterly disappointed in Julian and Miles. Her company was the culmination of so many people's dedication. Ballet wasn't something you could master just by trying hard. Miles knew that. He just didn't care because the person he was defending was no longer her. Miles was stunned for a moment. Arya had never lost her temper with him like that. Julian also stared after her, retreating back for a long moment as if to stand and follow her. But Cassie immediately started crying softly. "It's all my fault. I'm so useless, dreaming of joining a dance company and making Arya angry." "Julian, Miles, you should go comfort her." "Comfort her for what? She's the one in the wrong here," Miles said, his tone softening as he turned back to Cassie. "Don't worry about it, Cassie. If you want to learn to dance, I'll hire the best private instructor in the world for you. You don't have to beg her for anything." He gently patted Cassie's back, his voice a low, comforting murmur. Julian, who had half risen, sat back down. "Cassie, don't cry. You want to join a dance company. I'll make Arya agree." "Really?" A light sparked in Cassie's eyes, her excitement palpable. "Of course. When has Julian ever broken a promise?" Miles said with a smile. As a powerful CEO, Julian had his ways. Getting Cassie into Arya's company wouldn't be a problem. Back in her room, Arya looked around at the collection of things Julian and Miles had given her over the years. From childhood to now, there were too many memories. Now, they all seemed like a joke. Arya packed everything into boxes and had the house staff take them out to be thrown away. Julian and Miles watched, box after box being carried out. They saw the hand-stitched doll Julian had made for her, the one Arya used to say she couldn't sleep without. Now it was lying on top of a pile of trash. A sense of panic flickered in their eyes. Julian stopped a housekeeper, his brow creased. Arya, what are you doing? Why are you throwing all this away? It's all old and just taking up space. Better to get rid of it. Isn't decluttering the big thing right now? Arya glanced at him, her voice devoid of warmth. Julian reached anxiously for the doll in the box the housekeeper was carrying, but Arya was faster. She snatched the doll and tossed it directly into a box of old paint supplies. The pristine white doll was instantly stained with a riot of colors. Julian's eyes reddened with a pained expression, but he was helpless. Miles saw his own gifts to her, similarly ruined, and was close to tears. Arya found their reactions fascinating. They hurt her again and again for Cassie, yet they treasured these worthless old objects like precious relics. She was suddenly curious to see how they would react if they knew she was leaving for Silver Creek to take over her mother's company. All right, you two don't have to look like that. It's just old stuff. After you declutter, you can buy new things. Arya had little desire to talk to them. The online trend of letting go was popular lately. Arya thought the thing she most needed to let go of was Julian and Miles. You're right, it's all from a long time ago. We'll get you more, better gifts in the future, Julian said, his expression relaxing slightly. He didn't suspect anything. Miles immediately chimed in. Looks like we'll have to prepare 2 sets of gifts from now on. We have to get something for Cassie, too. She had such a hard life before, no one to love her. We have to love her twice as much to make up for it. He rambled on about Cassie's past hardships. Arya listened to them, nearly laughing out loud. They wouldn't need to prepare 2 sets of gifts. Soon, she wouldn't need any from them at all. Seeing Arya smile, Julian and Miles relaxed further, assuming she was no longer upset about Cassie and had forgiven them. But then their eyes fell on the dozen or so suitcases piled by her door, and Julian's brow furrowed again. Why did you pack so many suitcases? After the competition, I'm planning to travel for a few days, Arya said as she continued packing. Leaving the Croft house after 20 years, she had a lot to take with her. Do you need that much stuff just for a trip? Julian had always been perceptive. A dozen suitcases seemed excessive for a short vacation. Yeah, you don't need to pack so much just to clear your head. If you need anything, you can just buy it there. No need to haul all this around, Miles added, also finding it strange. They both sensed she was hiding something from them. Julian was about to ask more when the sound of a cup shattering came from downstairs, followed by Cassie's tearful cry. Ah, it hurts. Cassie, what happened? The 2 men exclaimed in unison, rushing downstairs in a panic. Downstairs, Cassie stood with red-rimmed eyes, looking utterly wronged. Julian, Miles, I saw you didn't eat much at dinner, so I thought I'd make you some coffee. I didn't mean to burn myself. I'm so clumsy, I can't do anything right. It's not your fault, not at all. The staff can do that. Why were you even trying? You're going to give me a heart attack. Let's go to the hospital, Miles said, scooping Cassie into his arms and heading for the door. Julian, usually so composed, was also flustered, grabbing his car keys and following them out. Cassie's hand was merely red from the splash. It was hardly a serious burn. Yet the 2 of them acted as if it were a life-threatening crisis. As Miles carried her, Cassie wrapped her arms around his neck. From an angle the brothers couldn't see, she shot Arya a provocative look, a triumphant smirk playing on her lips. Arya watched them with a calm expression. Cassie couldn't get under her skin anymore. In Mr. Croft's study, the old man sat with a look of displeasure. Arya had lived in his house for years, like his own daughter. The thought of her leaving made him unhappy, but mostly, it filled him with reluctance. You're going back to Silver Creek to take over your mother's company. Do Julian and Miles agree? I don't need their permission, and I don't plan on telling them just yet. I'd appreciate it if you could keep this a secret for me, Uncle. Arya's tone was serious. Why? Those boys are devoted to you. Since you were children, they've had eyes only for you. They even said they wanted to marry you. I was hoping you'd choose one of them. Arya smiled. Uncle, that was just childhood talk. It doesn't count. All right then, I won't try to persuade you. You're like a daughter to me. I truly hate to see you go, Mr. Croft sighed. After chatting for a while, Arya left the study. In the days that followed, she threw herself into preparing for the dance competition. This would be the last one of her life. After she took over the company, she would be too busy to dance anymore. Arya made sure to save seats for Julian and Miles. They had insisted on it. "Arya, we have to be there for your competition." "Yeah, I need to film the whole thing. It's a special moment." Miles had proudly shown off the new camera he'd bought just for the occasion. But the competition ended and their seats remained empty. The event was a success. Arya won first place, a fantastic achievement. Exhausted, she returned home to find Cassie bubbling with excitement. "Arya, guess what? Julian and Miles took me to Comic-Con today. It was so much fun." "Yeah, who knew Comic-Con could be so interesting?" "The main thing is that Cassie had a good time," Miles added. Arya watched the three of them excitedly discussing the convention, a sarcastic smile touching her lips. So, they had skipped her competition to take Cassie to Comic-Con. Julian finally seemed to notice Arya had been gone all day. "Arya, the housekeeper said you were out. Where did you go?" "Today was my dance competition." Arya's smile was fixed, waiting to see their reaction. It was only then that Julian and Miles remembered. They had promised to be at her competition. They had forgotten because they were with Cassie. A flicker of unease crossed Julian's eyes. He opened his mouth but said nothing. Miles looked guilty. "Cassie's never been to Comic-Con before, so it's fine." "It was just a competition," Arya cut him off calmly. "We're sorry, it was our fault today. We'll definitely be there next time," Julian offered a rare apology. Arya found it amusing. There would be no next time. This was her final competition. In 7 days, she would leave the Croft house and return to Silver Creek. After that, these 3 people would be out of her life. Before she left, Arya wanted to visit her father's grave. His death anniversary was in 2 days. She had planned to go alone, but Mr. Croft insisted that Julian and Miles accompany her. Early in the morning, when Arya came downstairs, Julian's car was waiting by the door. As she approached, she saw Cassie in the passenger seat, waving sweetly at her. "Arya, that seat used to be hers." Julian had once sworn that no one else would ever sit in his passenger seat. But then Cassie came along, claiming she got carsick. At some point, the front seat had become Cassie's exclusive spot. But this time, on a visit to her father's grave, they were bringing Cassie along. Arya stared at the 2 men with an expression that was almost glacially cold. Julian looked away, unable to meet her gaze. Cassie said she's been stressed with graduation and wanted to come along to clear her head. "Arya, don't overthink it." "I'm going to see my father, not to clear my head," Arya said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Anyone else might not know, but Julian and Miles knew perfectly well. Every time she visited her father's grave, it was to mourn him, not for a casual outing. And yet, they were letting Cassie tag along. "I'll go see my father by myself. You don't need to come." Arya had no desire to argue and turned to leave. Cassie's voice, thick with tears, called out. "Did I make Arya angry again? Julian, Miles, she's helped me so much. I heard her father was a great hero. I just wanted to go pay my respects." "Cassie, don't cry. You did nothing wrong. She's the one being unreasonable," Miles said, instantly rushing to comfort her. He couldn't stand to see her cry. It was a scene Arya had witnessed far too many times. Before Arya could say anything, Miles turned on her. "Arya, Cassie just wanted to pay respects to your father out of kindness. What's wrong with that? Why are you always targeting her?" "Kindness. I don't see it." Arya shot a look at Cassie. She knew exactly what Cassie's intentions were. Only Julian and Miles were blind to it. Arya started to walk away again, but Julian blocked her path. "Arya, don't make a scene. Anything else, fine. But this time, Dad specifically told Miles and me to accompany you to pay respects to Uncle Yun. Today is his anniversary." The mention of Mr. Croft made Arya soften. For years, Mr. Croft had felt an immense debt over her father's death. He was out of town for a conference and couldn't be there, which was why he had insisted his sons go in his place. If she refused to let them come, Mr. Croft would be heartbroken. He had treated her like his own daughter, and she couldn't bear to hurt him. Fine, let's go. Arya opened the back door and got in without another word. When they arrived at the cemetery, Arya was carrying her father's favorite whiskey and some food. As Cassie, Julian, and Miles got out of the car, Arya saw that Cassie was holding a bouquet of red roses, seemingly conjured from thin air. Cassie smiled innocently at Julian. Julian, let's go. I brought these flowers especially for Uncle. Aren't they beautiful? Arya stared at the fiery red roses. They were blindingly inappropriate. Cassie, are you out of your mind? We're here to pay respects to my father, who brings red roses to a grave. But Arya, I thought they were pretty. I wanted to give them to Uncle. I even saved up my allowance to buy them myself, Cassie said, looking pitiful. Arya didn't believe for a second that Cassie was ignorant of funeral etiquette. She knew you didn't bring red roses to a grave. She was doing it on purpose. You're not coming to see my father. Cassie, I'm done playing games with you, Arya said firmly. Arya, I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to, Cassie put on her pitiable act again. Julian and Miles were about to speak up for her, but Arya shot them a cold glare. If you say one more word for her, you're not coming either. And when Uncle Croft asks why, you can explain it to him yourselves. Her words shut them up. Miles had no choice but to coax Cassie. Cassie, be good. The path to the grave is rough. You wait here for us, we'll be back soon. But Cassie, listen, Julian said, his voice unusually stern. Cassie immediately became obedient. Okay, if Arya doesn't want me to come, I'll wait here for you. Good girl. Julian patted her head, his touch gentle and fond. The two brothers followed Arya to the gravesite. Arya arranged the offerings and looked at her father's photograph, her eyes turning red. Dad, I miss you so much. Arya, don't be too sad. We'll come with you to visit Uncle more often in the future. Yeah, we'll come with you regularly, Miles echoed. Julian put a comforting arm around Arya, gently wiping her tears. For a fleeting moment, it felt like old times before Cassie, when the three of them were inseparable, when Julian and Miles's affection for her was boundless. I'd like to speak with my father alone for a bit. You can wait over there, Arya said. Julian and Miles moved away. Once they were gone, Arya told her father about her life, about winning first place in her dance competition. A sudden ringtone interrupted her. It was her mother. Hello, Arya, it's Mom. Have you booked your flight yet? It's only 3 days until you come back to Silver Creek. Your grandpa, grandma, and your aunt will all be at the airport to meet you. We all miss you so much. The ticket is booked, Mom. That's wonderful. Send me the flight details so I can prepare. Her mother was overjoyed, thrilled at the thought of seeing her precious daughter. After a few more excited instructions, she hung up. Julian and Miles walked back over. Arya, who was that on the phone? What ticket? Where are you going? It was Julian who asked. For days, he'd had a nagging feeling that something was off with Arya, though he couldn't put his finger on it. Since Cassie's arrival, she no longer clung to them like she used to. Nowhere. I was just booking a ticket for a friend, Arya replied calmly. Julian and Miles were about to press further when Miles's phone rang. It was Cassie. He answered immediately, and her panicked sobs filled the line. Miles, I've been bitten by a snake. I think I'm dying. Help me. What happened? Cassie, don't move. Stay right where you are. We're coming, Miles said urgently. Julian paled, his usual composure shattered, his eyes filled with fear and worry. Cassie was bitten by a snake. Quick, we have to get her to a hospital, Julian bolted, sprinting down the hill even faster than Miles. They raced to Cassie as if the world were ending. She was sitting on the ground, crying, her pant leg rolled up to reveal a small bite mark. Cassie, this time it was Julian who lunged forward, gathering her into his arms. Cassie clung to his neck, sobbing pitifully. Julian, I'm going to die. I was so scared, all alone here. No, you won't. We'll get you to the hospital. It's our fault. We shouldn't have left you here alone. We're so sorry, Julian said, his own eyes red with self-reproach and worry for her. Miles turned his anger on Arya. Arya, are you satisfied now? It's because of you that we left Cassie here alone, and now she's been bitten by a snake. If anything happens to her, we will never forgive you. She got bitten by a snake. What does that have to do with me? She could have just stayed in the car. Why did she have to wander off and get into trouble? Arya couldn't understand how this was her fault. Miles grew even more furious. You're still making excuses. Your heart is black. Arya, I agree. You've gone too far, Julian said, his voice cold. You can stay here and think about what you've done. Without another word, they carried Cassie to the car and drove off, leaving Arya alone at the cemetery. Arya never could have imagined that one day, Julian and Miles would abandon her for Cassie. The cemetery was remote, and she couldn't get a taxi. As evening fell, it began to rain. The long walk back left Arya cold, hungry, and terrified. By the time she reached the Croft estate, she was covered in scrapes and soaked to the bone. The housekeeper saw her disheveled state and burst into tears of pity. The drenching rain left Arya sick in bed for 2 days. Julian and Miles stayed at the hospital with Cassie for 3. Even after the doctor repeatedly assured them that the snake wasn't venomous, that it was just a common garden snake, they insisted she remain for observation. When Mr. Croft found out Arya had been abandoned at the cemetery, he was so furious he nearly had a stroke. He slapped both of his sons across the face. Julian, Miles, I asked you to take care of Arya, and you left her at a cemetery for that. That thing, are you even human? Dad, we didn't think it would turn out like this. We just wanted to teach her a lesson. We didn't know it would get so bad, Miles said, looking at Arya with a flicker of guilt. Exactly. Arya, why didn't you just call a cab? Julian added with a frown. Arya looked at him and almost laughed. A cab? The cemetery was miles from anywhere, and the weather was terrible. Even if she had called, no one would have come. They had wanted her to suffer. They had wanted to leave her there. This time, she wouldn't hold on to any last hope for Julian and Miles. Uncle, I'm tired. I'm going back to my room, Arya said quietly and turned to leave. Julian and Miles followed her. Arya, we're sorry. We were wrong that day. You should have called us. Don't bother, it's over. What's the point of explaining now? Because it hurt you, Julian blurted out. Arya found this hilarious. Of course it hurt her. They had grown up together. And for another woman, they had left her for dead. Of course it hurt. Arya's lips curved into a smile. I'm not hurt anymore because I don't care anymore. Her words made Julian and Miles's faces turn pale. Arya, you can't be like this. You're the one who brought Cassie to us. We were just doing what you asked, taking care of her. You know how I feel about you. I've given you my whole heart all these years. Miles couldn't help but add. They were about to say more when a housekeeper rushed upstairs. Mr. Julian, Mr. Miles, Miss Cassie says she caused trouble and she feels so guilty she's trying to kill herself. I'll go check on her. I'll go with you. Cassie is so fragile, she must be at her breaking point. The two of them hurried downstairs to see Cassie. Arya calmly watched them go, then finished packing her things and walked downstairs. In the car on the way to the airport, Arya scrolled through her phone and saw Cassie's new Instagram story. The caption read, "Feeling like a happy princess. All I have to do is call, and my knights come running to me, and I have 2 of them." Arya liked the post. I hope the 3 of you are locked together forever. Don't come out and ruin anyone else's life. She deleted every contact from her phone, boarded the plane, and left without a single look back. Arya was gone. She no longer cared about how Julian and Miles felt. In the moment she truly let go, she felt a wave of relief wash over her. Meanwhile, back at the Croft estate, after successfully coaxing Cassie down from her fake suicide attempt, Julian and Miles went to talk to Arya. But she was gone. Also gone were all her suitcases. Julian's face was grim. Miles frantically searched Arya's room, finding all her favorite things, her paintings, her books, all cleared out. He nearly collapsed. Julian, she's gone. She took everything. Julian was silent. The scene before them spoke for itself. Things were spiraling out of control. Cassie, who had followed them, already knew what had happened but feigned innocence. Julian, Miles, Arya said before that she was going on a trip to clear her head. I'm sure she just went traveling. She'll be back in a few days. Julian glanced at Cassie, his expression darkening further. Miles's voice was strained. Impossible. She wouldn't take her favorite paintings with her on a vacation. I'm going to find her. He turned and hurried out. Julian followed, saying to Cassie, "I'm going too. Stop making trouble and wait for us to get back." Julian, Miles, Cassie called after them, but they didn't even pause. At the front door, Mr. Croft blocked their path. "Where are you two going?" "Dad, Arya's gone." "We have to find her," Miles said, on the verge of tears. He had never felt a fear like this before, a hollowing ache in his chest as if a part of him had been carved out. Julian, though more composed, also had red-rimmed eyes. He was terrified that his deepest fears were coming true. Mr. Croft looked at his sons and scoffed. "Don't bother. Arya has gone back to Silver Creek to inherit her mother's company. By now, she's probably already there." The two of them froze, unable to process his words. Julian's face was ashen, his lips trembling. "She left." Tears streamed down Miles's face. The tough celebrity sobbed like a child. "She went back to Silver Creek? She wouldn't. Arya said she would stay with the Crofts forever, that she wouldn't go anywhere." "Dad, are you lying to us? Dad, tell us where she is." They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe Arya would just leave like that. She had promised to stay with them forever. Mr. Croft sneered at their reaction. "Why would I lie? Arya told me days ago she was leaving to take over her mother's company. My own driver took her to the airport today and watched her board the plane. It's real." It was his sons who hadn't cherished her. Now it was too late. Julian swayed, leaning against a wall for support. He looked at Miles, who was now crying openly. They had never imagined that Arya would leave without a word so decisively. She had told them she was just going on a trip. "I should have known. I should have seen something was wrong," Julian murmured, his face growing paler. Of course, they should have seen it. A dozen suitcases piled in her room that was never for a simple vacation. She had been planning her escape all along. Miles was still sobbing beside him. Julian's mind raced, replaying the events of the past few weeks. He had sensed something was off with Arya, but hadn't given it much thought. Looking back, it was clear she had been planning to leave them for at least 2 weeks. Was she really that bothered by Cassie's presence? After a while, Julian and Miles returned to Arya's empty room. Cassie was still there. Seeing them, she immediately came over. "Julian, Miles, isn't Arya just traveling? I told you she just went to clear her head. She'll be fine. Look how worried you got. Let's go have dinner and wait patiently. I'm sure she'll be back in a few days." Julian remained silent, sitting at Arya's desk and staring at a photo of the three of them, his thoughts unreadable. Miles's voice was cold, devoid of its usual warmth. "Cassie, leave us alone. We want some quiet." "Miles?" Cassie's eyes immediately reddened as she looked at him, hurt. It was the first time Miles had ever used her full name. "Get out." Miles's voice was sharp with impatience. "Okay, I understand." Cassie didn't dare stay any longer, afraid of making them angrier. Before, the slightest hint of sadness from her would have had Miles fussing over her. Today, he didn't even seem to notice. A housekeeper came in to clear Arya's room and reached for the photo on the desk. Julian snatched it away. "What are you doing?" "Sir, it was Miss Arya's instructions. She said that after she left, everything in her room was to be thrown away," the housekeeper said hesitantly. Julian felt his chest tighten. Arya hadn't taken the photo with her. Instead, she had ordered it to be thrown away. It was a memory of the three of them, and she didn't want it. "Don't throw away any of Arya's things," Julian commanded. The housekeeper, not daring to argue, quickly left. Julian carefully placed the photo back on the desk. This room held so many memories. When they were little, they loved to hang out in her room, orbiting around her. Now she was gone, and nothing was left but these few objects to prove she had ever been there. It was only then that Julian and Miles truly understood. Arya was gone. Their minds were flooded with memories of their time with her. They had been so happy then, always scheming up ways to please their princess. Now, their princess had abandoned them. Cassie came to call them for dinner. Neither of them had any appetite. They just sat in silence. "Julian, Miles, I know you're sad, but you have to eat. I made the soup myself. Please, just try some." Cassie brought a bowl of soup to Julian. He didn't take it. She then offered it to Miles. "Miles, please drink it. I spent hours making it." I said I'm not hungry, can you just leave me alone? Miles shoved her hand away, and the entire bowl of hot soup spilled onto Cassie's hand. Ah, it hurts, Cassie cried out, looking down at the large red blotches already forming on her skin. Miles, she whimpered, her doe-like eyes filling with tears. This time, it was Julian who spoke. Cassie, don't do things like this anymore. We don't need it. What? Cassie looked at them, bewildered. She could hardly believe her ears. Just yesterday, she had cooked Julian and Miles their favorite dishes. They had praised her endlessly and cleaned their plates. Just yesterday, the tiniest scratch would have sent Miles into a panic, rushing her to the emergency room. Today, the meal she made was thrown to the floor. Her hand was scalded, and neither Julian nor Miles showed any reaction. All because Arya had left, their attitude towards her had completely changed. Julian and Miles ignored Cassie, acting as if she wasn't there. After a moment, Cassie hurried back to her own room. She hid all of Arya's things that she had taken and deleted all the nasty messages she had sent to Arya. She couldn't let Julian and Miles find out that she was the one who had provoked Arya and driven her away. Julian exhaled a cloud of smoke. Arya was going to Silver Creek to take over a company. She hadn't said a word to them. The Croft family was powerful. Investigating the Yun family would have been easy. But Arya had deliberately kept it from them, not wanting them to follow her. At this thought, Julian couldn't sit still. He stubbed out his cigarette and went to his father's study. Miles followed. They needed answers. They needed to know why, when their bond was so strong, Arya would leave without a word. What do you two want now? Mr. Croft glanced at them, annoyed. He had raised Arya like his own daughter. Now that she was gone, he was both hurt and saddened. Julian stepped forward. Dad, when Arya left, did she tell you why she left so suddenly? Did something happen? How should I know about your affairs? I was planning on her being my daughter-in-law, but she insisted on leaving. I couldn't stop her. Mr. Croft slammed his hand on the table in frustration. Such a wonderful girl, a perfect daughter-in-law, gone forever. Julian and Miles left without the answers they sought. They couldn't understand what had happened to make Arya leave so secretly. I'm going to find Arya and demand an explanation, Miles declared, unable to wait another second. He needed to see her, to ask her face to face what had happened to make her disregard their years together and abandon the family she had grown up in. As Miles stormed out, Julian immediately followed. They had their assistants book the next flight to Silver Creek. The hours on the plane were torturous. They wished the plane would fly faster, that they could see Arya sooner and demand to know the truth. At the Yun family villa, Arya, the guest of honor, was dressed like a princess. A stunning white gown and the latest designer jewelry made her breathtakingly beautiful. Her mother circled her, beaming with pride. My Arya is so beautiful. You'll be the most dazzling person at the party tonight. I guarantee Liam Joe will be completely captivated. Mom, stop it, Arya blushed, slightly embarrassed. The Yun family was hosting a grand party to celebrate her return. More importantly, it was her engagement party. She never would have imagined she would be getting engaged to Liam Joe. As a child, she often heard her grandfather talk about a grandson from a close family friend who was her age and exceptionally brilliant. Her grandfather would say that their two families would one day be united by marriage. When she grew up, she would marry Liam Joe. Back then, she didn't understand. She would just clap her hands and shout, "Okay, okay," and just like that, the betrothal was set. Later, when her father took her to live in Los Angeles, the matter was never mentioned again. Upon her return to Silver Creek, her grandfather arranged the engagement party. It was only yesterday, when she met Liam again, that she realized who her fiancé was. He was the aloof, unattainable campus legend from her university. In her memory, he was always brilliant, a world away from her. Their only close encounter had been on a university-sponsored hiking trip that was hit by a sudden thunderstorm. She had gotten separated and was trapped alone in a remote area with no phone signal as darkness fell. Terrified, she thought she was going to die in the mountains. Then, Liam appeared, running towards her. The moment she saw him, she understood what it meant for a light to appear in your life. Arya Yun, don't be afraid. I'll get you out of here, Liam had said, his voice calm and reassuring. Thank you, Arya had managed through her sobs. Liam carried her on his back out of the mountains, never once putting her down. Even though he was covered in scrapes and his own feet were bleeding from cuts, he insisted on taking her all the way to the hospital. After that day, she never saw him again. Until now, in Silver Creek, and they were getting engaged. The party is starting. Madam Miss, are you ready? The old master is getting impatient, a housekeeper announced from outside the door. Arya, the guests have all arrived. Let's go out, her mother said fondly. Okay. When Arya emerged, all eyes turned to her. The attention made her nervous and overwhelmed, until a hand took hers. It was warm and strong. Arya looked up and met a pair of eyes as beautiful as a mountain lake, gentle and captivating. Don't be afraid, I'm here. It was Liam. He was right beside her, devastatingly handsome in a tailored suit. Just like that stormy night when she thought she was going to die, his sudden appearance was just as breathtaking. Arya suddenly thought that being engaged to Liam Joe was actually a wonderful choice. Throughout the evening, Liam held her hand tightly, never letting go. He stayed by her side as they greeted guests and accepted toasts, providing a sense of security she had never known. Just like that night, when she thought she would die in the storm, Liam had said, Arya, I won't give up on you. So don't you give up on yourself. The Yun and Joe families were both top-tier dynasties in Silver Creek. The party was filled with influential guests, and Arya felt dizzy trying to keep up. But as long as Liam was there, she didn't have to worry about a thing. Old Mrs. Joe, Liam's grandmother, approached them, holding a magnificent jade bracelet. Arya, this has been passed down to the daughters-in-law of the Joe family for generations. Today, Grandma is giving it to you. I hope you and Liam will be very happy together. Thank you, Grandma, Arya said with a smile, extending her hand for Liam to place the bracelet on her wrist, officially marking her as the chosen daughter-in-law of the Joe family. Just as he was about to, Julian and Miles arrived. Arya's face was flushed with a gentle, undeniable happiness. The two brothers stared, their eyes wide with disbelief. Miles, emotional, shouted, Arya, don't put on that bracelet on their way over. They had already heard the rumors that Arya was getting engaged. The entrance to the party was adorned with a massive photo of her and another man, a jarring sight. But they had convinced themselves it was all an act, that Arya was just angry and trying to make them jealous. Now, seeing her happily accepting the Joe family heirloom, it felt like a nightmare. Julian's hand trembled. He wanted to reach for Arya, but his arm felt leaden. He forced his voice to remain calm. Arya, come here, to me. Even now, he couldn't accept it. Arya was surprised to see them. She hadn't expected them to find her in Silver Creek so quickly, let alone crash her engagement party. But it didn't matter. She didn't care about them anymore. She took Liam's hand and guided it, letting him slide the jade bracelet onto her wrist. Then, she linked her arm through his. Julian, Miles, you're here. Perfect timing. Today is my engagement party. You can stay for a celebratory drink. What celebratory drink? Arya, you must be out of your mind with anger at us to do something so rash. An engagement isn't a game. Come with us, Miles said, losing his composure and stepping forward to grab her. Arya dodged him, moving closer to Liam. Liam shielded her and, with a swift movement, kicked Miles, sending him staggering back several feet. Mr. Croft, please respect my fiancé. His gaze was sharp and cold. Julian was stunned by Arya's reaction, and by the fact that she had just watched Miles get hit without a word. Before, if either of them got so much as a paper cut, she would be on the verge of tears. Today, her indifference was terrifyingly unfamiliar. This was not the outcome he wanted. Absolutely not. Julian couldn't stop himself. Mr. Joe, you should understand, Arya is only engaged to you to spite us. In a few days, she'll regret it. Please let her go. Spite you? Do you really think you're worthy? Liam sneered at them as if they had told the world's biggest joke. You abandoned her at a cemetery, a young woman all alone, without a care for her safety. You hurt her again and again for that Cassie girl. What exactly is there for her to be spiteful about? Arya wasn't a fool. To act out of spite for these two would be true foolishness. Liam's words left them speechless. They turned to Arya, desperate. Arya, you think we were too good to Cassie, that we hurt you because of her. But you were the one who asked the family to adopt her. We were just taking pity on her background. We had no other intentions. Yeah, and you asked us to take extra care of her, so why are you doing this to us? Miles added. They had done everything she had asked. They couldn't understand why she was acting this way. Arya finally snapped. She raised her hand and slapped both Julian and Miles across the face. Julian Croft, Miles Croft, shut up, I asked you to take care of Cassie, not to help her bully me. None of it matters anymore. I have nothing to do with you. Whether you take care of Cassie or love Cassie, I don't care. From this day forward, I want nothing to do with either of you. No, you can't be so cruel, Arya. Come back to the Croft house with us. We know we were wrong. We can go back to how things were. We'll treat you well, just like before. We'll love you just like we always did. Julian finally broke, his pride shattering as he pleaded with her. No, I am not going back with you, and I don't need your love. The thought of it just makes me sick. Arya's reply was glacial. Thinking of the past, she felt a visceral disgust. Her feelings for them had been a habit, one she would eventually forget. Julian's face went white. He managed a brittle laugh. Fine, very fine. Arya, you will regret this. Never. Security, have these men removed. And from this day on, they are not to come near the Yun family property again. Arya gave the order. Instantly, security guards from both the Yun and Zhou families appeared. They dragged the two struggling brothers out and unceremoniously threw them onto the street. With them gone, Arya realized she had lost her composure. She looked at Liam, embarrassed. Liam, You did wonderfully, Arya, Liam said, stroking her hair with an affirming touch. You're going to run the Yun Corporation one day, and you'll be the matriarch of the Zhou family. You'll face storms in the business world. That kind of decisiveness is exactly what you need. He didn't think she was wrong at all. You shouldn't be quick to forgive those who have hurt you. To lead a company, you needed that kind of strength. Liam's praise warmed Arya's heart. Outside the Yun estate, Julian and Miles were a disheveled mess, their expensive suits torn. Arya refused to go back with them. They had no other choice. They boarded a plane and flew home alone. They couldn't understand how things with Arya had gotten to this point, why she would have them thrown out. The person who had once cared for them so deeply was now so cold, so ruthless. He vaguely remembered his father saying that Arya would choose one of them to marry. They had even secretly competed for her affection. Then Cassie appeared. At first, when Arya brought Cassie to them, she said Cassie's family was poor, her parents had remarried, and her stepfather was abusing her. Arya had begged their father to adopt Cassie, offering to pay for her upkeep. Their father, who doted on Arya, agreed. Then Arya, in her kindness, asked them to look after Cassie. And so, they began to divide their attention. Gradually, Julian and Miles discovered something. The better they were to Cassie, the more Arya seemed to care, the more jealous she got. It was a novel feeling. They both loved Arya and selfishly wanted to marry her. This seemed like a way to see whose affection she valued more. They never imagined it would drive her away into the arms of another man. When Julian and Miles returned to the Croft estate, disheveled and defeated, Mr. Croft and Cassie were there. Mr. Croft looked at them and sneered. Well, you're back. Didn't Arya invite you to stay for a few days? The sarcastic remark made their faces burn. Miles wished the ground would swallow him whole. Not only had she not invited them to stay, she had security throw them out. Mr. Croft couldn't be bothered with his foolish sons and walked away. Cassie, however, breathed a sigh of relief. She had been worried sick ever since Mr. Croft told her Julian and Miles had gone after Arya. She was terrified Arya would come back with them, and her own position in the Croft house would be jeopardized. Julian and Miles would go back to doting on Arya and would no longer have eyes for her. Her entire plan would be ruined. Now, seeing their miserable state, it was clear Arya had rejected them. A wave of joy washed over Cassie. She rushed over to them, her face a mask of concern. "Julian, Miles, what happened to you? Why are your clothes torn? Did the Yun family give you trouble?" Arya can be so thoughtless. You went all that way to see her and she had people beat you up? That's just awful. In the past, her manipulative, sweet talking words would have pleased Julian and Miles. Today, they sounded grating. "What did you say?" Miles's face was a cold mask as he looked at Cassie. "And nothing. I just meant Arya, she. If I ever hear you say another bad word about Arya, I will make you regret it," Miles said, his voice low and threatening. "Yes, I won't do it again." Cassie's face paled and she quickly agreed. She wasn't stupid. She realized Julian and Miles had changed. The two men had no energy to deal with Cassie and went straight to their rooms. They didn't sleep a wink, their minds replaying the scene of Arya's engagement to Liam Joe. The way she leaned into him, her eyes filled with a softness that had once been reserved for them, now given to another man. They had grown up together. They had always assumed Arya would marry one of them. Anyone but Liam Joe. Now everything had changed. It was only in this moment that they realized they were truly losing her. Julian Chains smoked, one cigarette after another. Miles couldn't hold back his tears. "Julian, Arya really doesn't want us anymore." The rain outside mirrored the chill in their hearts. The next morning, Cassie, as usual, helped the housekeeper prepare a thoughtful breakfast. Seeing the two brothers, she happily approached them. "Miles, Julian, I made breakfast all by myself today." She gave them a sweet smile. Before, they would have eaten and praised her effusively. Today, they had no appetite. As they were about to leave, Julian's eyes caught the necklace around Cassie's neck. "Where did you get that necklace?" "Oh, this, Arya bought it for me. Isn't it pretty?" Cassie said, trying to sound proud. If she said she bought it herself, they wouldn't believe her. Only by saying Arya gave it to her could she make it plausible. And for Arya's sake, they would continue to be good to her. "Liar," Miles stood up, pointing at the necklace. "That's impossible, absolutely impossible." He didn't believe for a second that Arya would give that necklace to Cassie. It had a special meaning. It was a gift their mother had prepared for her future daughter-in-law. She had given it to Arya long ago, as a token of her future place in the family. Arya had always treasured it, rarely even wearing it, and now it was on Cassie's neck. "I'm not lying, Arya really did give it to me," Cassie insisted. She couldn't let them know she had stolen it from Arya. "You're lying. You stole Arya's dress last time, and we let it go. Now you're stealing her necklace." Miles could no longer control his anger and stormed upstairs towards Cassie's room. Julian followed him. Cassie watched them, her heart pounding with fear. Her room was full of secrets. She couldn't let them find out. "Miles, Julian, you can't go in there." Cassie blocked their path. Miles shoved her to the ground. The moment they entered her room, they froze, unable to believe their eyes. They had been in Cassie's room countless times before but had never noticed. The room was filled with things that couldn't possibly belong to her. A girl from the slums, abused by her stepfather, who had arrived at their house in rags. Arya had brought her back, her heart breaking with pity. Now, Cassie's room was filled with luxury goods. Famous paintings hung on the walls. The trinkets on her desk were valuable antiques. Aside from the gifts they had given her, many of the items had once belonged to Arya. Before, they had never thought anything of it. Today, they realized how wrong it all was. "Arya gave me all of this," Cassie blurted out before they could even ask. "You're still lying." "Cassie, what is this?" Julian held up a model ship. Cassie glanced at it, unconcerned. It was just a simple model. She had only stolen it because she saw how much Arya cherished it. For her, it was about taking what was Arya's, just like she had taken Julian and Miles. "I'm not lying, Arya really gave it to me. She saw how much I liked it." This model was a gift from Arya's father before he died. She valued it more than her own life. Why would she just give it to you? "There's a limit to your lies," Miles sneered. They had trusted Cassie too much, pitied her, believed her stories. And for her, they had hurt Arya again and again. They had been such fools, played by someone like her. "It's not just this, is it? Tell me, what else have you done to Arya? I want the whole truth today." Miles was done being patient. He saw Cassie for who she truly was. Cassie shook her head. Nothing. I never did anything to hurt Arya. My parents didn't care about me. My stepfather abused me. It was Arya who saved me. She's my savior. I would never do anything to betray her. Did Arya say something to you? She must have misunderstood. She's probably just jealous that you're so good to me. She couldn't let them find out what she had done. They would throw her out of the Croft house. She had worked too hard, schemed for too long to get here. She couldn't lose it all now. As she spoke, Cassie started to cry. Seeing her tears, Miles kicked her to the ground. Shut up, you're still slandering Arya, crying your crocodile tears. I've never hit a woman in my life, but looking at you, I can't help it. Cassie, tell the truth. If you lie again, if you hurt Arya again, I swear I won't let you get away with it. The kick was hard. Cassie crumpled to the floor, feeling like she was about to vomit blood. I didn't. I really didn't. Even though he had hit her, she couldn't confess. She didn't want to go back to her old life. The life at the Croft house, chauffeured cars, designer clothes was a luxury she had never dreamed of. The restaurants they frequented were places she had once been too intimidated to even look at. Fine, you want to be stubborn. You won't talk until you have no other choice. Julian was furious now, too. He called his assistant and ordered a full investigation into Cassie. After some time, the assistant came back with a single conclusion. Sir, she's a complete fraud. The assistant's words plunged everyone into a dark abyss. Cassie, from the very beginning, had been a manipulative schemer. She was working as a street vendor when some thugs harassed her. Arya happened to be passing by and saved her. Seeing how pitiful she was, Arya had her bodyguards protect her and even drove Cassie home. Seeing her own shabby clothes and dirt-streaked face in contrast to the ethereal, untouchable Arya, Cassie was struck by the power and privilege of the wealthy. It was intoxicating. She preyed on Arya's kindness, staging the scenes of abuse with her stepfather. She and her family put on a show, all to win Arya's sympathy. And it worked. Arya not only helped Cassie but brought her into the Croft home, begging the family to adopt her. At first, Cassie just wanted a taste of the rich life. She arrived at the Croft estate and feasted on gourmet food. Then she saw how Julian and Miles worshipped Arya, treating her like a goddess. She, on the other hand, was just a little sidekick. Even though Arya was kind and took care of her every need, Cassie grew resentful. Why did Arya get to enjoy this life of luxury so effortlessly, while she had to fight and claw for every scrap, living like a beggar? And on top of it all, Arya had two men who adored her. Cassie began to plot. She would take them for herself. If she could get into the Croft house, she could take everything else too. She used Arya to get Julian and Miles's attention, then deliberately created misunderstandings between the three of them. She made them distrust Arya, even turning them against her, causing them to hurt her for Cassie's sake. All she wanted was to secure her place in the Croft family and win the love of either Julian or Miles. She and her stepfather and her mother, it was all an act. They set a trap for Miss Yun, the assistant explained to Julian and Miles. Miss Yun is just too kind. That's why she brought this snake into the house and spent so much money on her. The assistant looked at Cassie with disgust. Such a kind person like Miss Yun had been forced to leave her home because of this girl. The brothers listened to the litany of Cassie's betrayals, stealing Arya's dress, the family heirloom necklace, even her deceased father's memento. It was all too vile. And they had helped her, had joined in on bullying Arya. No wonder Arya had left so heartbroken. No wonder she had them thrown out of her home. You bitch, you're disgusting. Julian looked at Cassie with an expression of pure murder. Me, disgusting? What's so disgusting about me? All I wanted was to stay in the Croft family. All I wanted was your love. What's so wrong with that? I love you, what's wrong with that? Why does Arya get everything, while I'm forced to live in a gutter, constantly terrified you'll kick me out? Cassie dropped the act. Her eyes were red with fury as she screamed at them. Julian and Miles stared at her in disbelief. They had never expected her to be so shameless. How could you even compare yourself to her? You want our love. Arya helped you and you repaid her with betrayal, you ungrateful viper. As of today, you are no longer welcome in this house. You make me sick." Miles ordered the staff to throw Cassie out. Cassie, shoeless and disheveled, struggled and screamed. "I'm not leaving, I didn't do anything wrong," but no matter how she cried and fought, Julian and Miles had her thrown out. Just then, Mr. and Mrs. Croft appeared. Cassie clung to them like a drowning woman to a lifeline. "Dad, Mom, Miles, and Julian are kicking me out, please. Help me." Over the past months, Cassie's act had been flawless. She had charmed not only the brothers but their parents as well, who had started to treat her like a second daughter. Whatever they gave to Arya, they would give a matching gift to Cassie. Mrs. Croft's face hardened as she glared at her sons. "You two begged us to adopt her. Now what is all this nonsense about throwing her out? Mom, don't be fooled by her. She's an actress. Everything she does is a lie," Miles said, playing a recording from his phone for his parents to hear. The recording was of Cassie saying cruel things to Arya. There were also security videos of Cassie sneaking into Arya's room and stealing her things when she wasn't there. When Arya caught her, Cassie would deliberately damage the item to provoke a reaction. She showed no remorse, even taunting Arya. "Julian and Miles are on my side now. If you try anything, they won't let you get away with it." Later, Arya had started to give in to Cassie, no longer fighting with her because of Julian and Miles. And Cassie had only become more vicious, her bullying more relentless. As Mrs. Croft saw the evidence, she felt a wave of dizziness and nearly fainted. She had never imagined this was what Arya's life had been like in her own home. They had brought Arya in to compensate for the loss of her father, to surround her with love and family. They had been so careful to protect her from any hint of hardship. And now, because of Cassie, she had been living a nightmare. Cassie had been brought in by Arya herself. They had trusted her completely. They never would have suspected she could hurt Arya. "That poor, silly child. Why didn't she ever tell me?" You are a truly wicked girl," Mr. Croft said, pointing a trembling finger at Cassie. Cassie's eyes reddened and she tried to argue, but Mrs. Croft cut her off, her voice cold as she addressed the staff. "Don't just let her leave. She arrived here in rags. Everything she has belongs to the Crofts. She is not to take a single thing with her." Mrs. Croft was no fool. She had built the Croft empire alongside her husband. She would not let Cassie get away with hurting Arya so deeply. At her command, several bodyguards began to strip Cassie's room. Cassie screamed and cried. "Don't touch my things, you can't touch my things." Jewelry and trinkets clattered to the floor. The Croft family looked on with disgust. Cassie lunged at a bodyguard, trying to snatch her things back. "Mrs. Croft grabbed her and slapped her hard across the face. "Your things? A single piece of jewelry here could buy your family's house several times over. None of this is yours. Take her dress off, too." Before anyone else could move, Mrs. Croft had already ripped the designer dress from Cassie's body. After having Cassie thrown out, Mrs. Croft still wasn't satisfied. She turned on her sons, her high heels clicking menacingly, and kicked each of them. "My hope was to keep Arya here, to let her live like a princess. Your father and I even agreed that whichever one of you married her would inherit the company. But look what you've done. You hurt her so deeply. She was in this house. Because her father died for yours, we begged her to stay with us. And you let her be bullied like this." Mrs. Croft was on the verge of tears, furious with her disappointing sons. She had spent years raising Arya so well, only for these two fools to team up with a snake and drive her away. Her words left Julian and Miles speechless with shame, their eyes red. "Mom, we're sorry." "Sorry. You have nothing to be sorry to me for. The one you wronged is Arya. You two idiots." Mrs. Croft couldn't bear to look at them. "Now, I see that Arya returning to Silver Creek to take over her company and get engaged to Liam Joe was the right choice. At least she'll be safe from you two fools." She, a woman known for her shrewdness, had given birth to two utter morons. Mrs. Croft took her husband's arm and left. Cassie was gone. Just as she had arrived, she left in tattered clothes, returning to her family. In one night, she had gone from a princess with 2 nights to a stray dog. Mrs. Croft had insisted that bodyguards escort Cassie all the way home, leaving her no room to escape. All the money and gifts Cassie had secretly sent to her family were also reclaimed by the Crofts. Her stepfather saw her pathetic state and exploded. "You useless thing, weren't you supposed to be living the high life with the Crofts? How did you get thrown out?" Cassie had promised that if he helped her with her act, they would all be rich. For a while, she had indeed given them a lot of money. Today, the Crofts had taken it all back. Their lawyers had explained that it was all obtained through fraud. If they didn't return it, they would go to jail. "Shut up, I'll figure something out." Slap her stepfather hit her across the face. Cassie's lips split open as he yelled, "I helped you with your act for the money. The whole neighborhood already thinks I'm an abusive monster. So I might as well live up to it. If you don't get me more money, I'll sell you to some old man for his pleasure." Still not satisfied, he grabbed her by the hair and began to punch and kick her. Her mother watched without a shred of sympathy. She had been so close to becoming a wealthy woman. It was Cassie's fault for angering the Crofts, getting thrown out, and dragging her down with her. When her parents were done, they left her bruised on the floor. It was only then that Cassie realized the true horror of her life. The things she had faked to trick Arya were now happening to her for real. Her time in the Croft house, being adored and pampered, felt like a distant dream. Cassie was seething with resentment. She didn't stay long. Covered in bruises, she went back to the Croft estate. She stood at the gate, crying and begging to be let in, but the only response was a call to security, who removed her for trespassing. She couldn't go back to her family, and the Crofts wouldn't have her. She was penniless. She found a place to hide for the night, planning to try her luck at Julian's company in the morning. That night, huddled in a corner, she was spotted by a homeless man. "Hey there, little girl. All alone?" His lecherous gaze terrified her. She bolted and ran all night. By morning, she was a true vagrant. She staked out the entrance to Julian's company building and waited. When she saw him emerge, she threw herself at him. "Julian, please, help me." Julian stared at the person before him, barely recognizing her. The cute, innocent girl with the playful smile from the Croft house was now indistinguishable from a homeless person. In just 2 days, Cassie had completely transformed. "Julian, my stepfather is beating me. Please save me. I have nowhere else to go." For a fleeting moment, Julian felt a pang of pity. But when Cassie mentioned her stepfather, he remembered the investigation. He remembered that her stepfather had been her accomplice in their elaborate deception. Julian's face instantly hardened. "Get away from me. That's your problem, not mine." He shoved her aside without a shred of mercy. Thinking of what she had done to Arya, he couldn't find it in him to be soft. Cassie then tried her luck with Miles, finding him at his private club. Miles was less callous than Julian. He saw her wretched state and frowned. "What happened to you?" "Miles, my family, they're beating me. After the Crofts kicked me out, they made my life a living hell. My stepfather said he's going to kill me or sell me to an old man. Please save me. Please." As she spoke, Cassie fell to her knees, banging her head on the ground, begging him to save her. Miles, taken aback by this display, was flustered. "Stop that. Just you can stay here for now." Thank you, Miles." Cassie burst into tears of relief. She was ecstatic. The rest of the Crofts might have abandoned her, but there were still soft-hearted ones like Miles. As long as she could cling to one of them, she could get her old life back. Miles ignored her, simply arranging for someone to get her some clothes the same luxurious designer brands as before. Cassie, applying a face mask and looking at her reflection, thought back on the past few days. She was consumed by bitterness. Why did Arya get to live such a charmed life? Even after leaving the Crofts, she returned to her own wealthy family, still living in luxury, engaged to the scion of another powerful family, Liam Joe. But when she left the Crofts, she was treated like a stray dog, beaten and abused, nearly assaulted. No, she would not go back to that life. She vowed to herself that she would not. And so, a new plan formed. That night, while Miles was drunk, Cassie crept into his bed. When he woke up, he found her lying naked beside him. He shot up, his face pale with horror. "You, what are you doing here?" "Miles, last night you were drunk. You held me and said you missed me." Cassie sobbed, playing the part of the wronged victim. Impossible, that's absolutely not possible, I would never do something like that. Miles scrambled out of bed. He couldn't remember anything from the night before, but he was certain of one thing: he had not touched Cassie. The only person he had ever loved was Arya. He couldn't have feelings for another woman. This was another one of Cassie's acts. Seeing that Miles wasn't falling for it, Cassie's crying grew more hysterical. Just then, the door opened, and Julian and Mr. and Mrs. Croft walked in. The scene before them: a naked, weeping Cassie in bed and a disheveled Miles smoking nearby. Cassie had planned it all, summoning the entire family. The moment she saw Mrs. Croft, she burst into a fresh wave of tears. "Mom, you have to stand up for me, Miles. He took advantage of me." I never touched you." Miles nearly crushed the lighter in his hand. If he had really touched her, he would have some memory of it. The family looked from Cassie to Miles, completely exasperated. Mrs. Croft walked over, gave Cassie a dismissive glance, and smirked. "You're saying Miles forced himself on you? Well, it's not really Miles's fault. He was drunk, that's why it happened," Cassie said, feigning pity and forgiveness. Mrs. Croft's expression grew darker. Finally, she snapped. She grabbed a handful of Cassie's hair and slapped her repeatedly, left and right. "You little tramp, Arya treated you with nothing but kindness, and you drove her away. This family took you in, and you've been scheming against us from day one. Now that you've been kicked out, Miles is the only one who showed you a shred of pity, and you try to trap him too. You are a conniving, manipulative little monster." She had never imagined Cassie would stoop so low as to try and frame her own son. From the moment she walked in, Mrs. Croft had not believed for a second that Miles had done anything. If she could be fooled by such a cheap trick, the Croft family would have been overrun with opportunistic women long ago. After dealing with Cassie, Mrs. Croft turned her fury on Miles. "You idiot," she sheds a few tears, "and you fall for it completely. You let her stay in your villa, and you didn't even consider what her intentions might be. Have you forgotten how she treated Arya? How did I raise such a stupid son?" Miles stood there, taking the verbal lashing without a word. He knew he shouldn't have felt sorry for Cassie. Mrs. Croft had Cassie's parents summoned. Her mother and stepfather arrived, and in the presence of the formidable Mrs. Croft, they were timid and subservient. "Mrs. Croft, you wanted to see us? Your precious daughter has been trying to trap my son. You have a son too, don't you? Still in school, I believe." Mrs. Croft's gaze swept over the couple. They had arrived hoping to extort something from the Crofts, but the mention of their son immediately put them in their place. In this city, the Crofts were untouchable. They were not a family to be crossed. "Mrs. Croft, everything Cassie did was her own idea. We were forced to go along with it," Cassie's mother pleaded, crying. "Please, I beg you, don't hurt our son." The stepfather, desperate to protect his own son, nearly fell to his knees. "If you want me to leave your son alone, then take this girl and get her out of my sight. Leave this city and never show your faces here again. I'll give you some money to get lost. And as for her, Mrs. Croft's sharp gaze fell on Cassie. You keep a very close eye on her. If she ever appears before anyone in the Croft family again, I will not be so merciful." This time, she was truly furious. Cassie's relentless scheming had crossed a line. Yes, we'll do as you say," the stepfather nodded frantically. His expression terrified Cassie. She had a sinking feeling about what awaited her. "I'm not going with them, please, Mrs. Croft, Julian, Miles, save me," but it was no use. Her stepfather slapped her several times and dragged her away. Cassie was taken away by her family. As promised, they left the city, under the watchful eye of the Crofts' men. They returned to their remote hometown. Cassie, still defiant, fought back. "I'm not staying here, let me go." Her stepfather grabbed a slipper and beat her with it. "Go? Who the hell wants to live in this shithole? It's all your fault. You little bitch, you're going to behave yourself and not cause any more trouble. If you do anything to harm your brother, I'll kill you." After the beating, he left. To keep her in line, Cassie's family arranged a marriage for her. For Cassie, it was a nightmare. They took money from an old, unmarried man in the village and sold her to him. Cassie cried and screamed, but it was useless. Her stepfather yelled at her, "You're used goods, thrown out by the Crofts. What right do you have to be picky? You'll marry him whether you like it or not." In that remote mountain village, Cassie's fate was sealed. Back in the city, Mrs. Croft still kept in touch with Arya. Arya had no desire to speak with the Croft brothers, but she respected Mrs. Croft. After all, during her time with the family, Mrs. Croft had always treated her with kindness and care like her own daughter. Arya told Mrs. Croft, "Auntie, I'm getting married. To Liam." "So soon, why the rush? Weren't you just engaged?" Mrs. Croft was surprised. A faint smile touched Arya's lips, her voice tinged with a shy happiness. "Liam is wonderful to me. He wants us to have the wedding soon, and I agreed." In the time they had spent together, Arya had come to know Liam's gentleness, his attentiveness, and his selfless devotion to her. So when he proposed to her at sunrise, she had said yes. Mrs. Croft, though saddened that Arya would not be her daughter-in-law, was happy that she had found someone who truly made her happy. "Well, that's wonderful. I'm so glad you're marrying someone you love." "Thank you, Auntie. In 3 days, I hope you and Uncle will come to my wedding," Arya said with a smile. She could exclude others, but she had to invite Mr. and Mrs. Croft. "Of course, we'll be there. I've already prepared a wedding gift for you," Mrs. Croft said. She had set it aside long ago. If Arya had married one of her sons, it would have been a bridal gift. Now, it would be a wedding present. When Julian and Miles heard their mother discussing Arya's wedding, they could hardly believe their ears. "Mom, who did you just say is getting married?" "Arya. She's marrying Liam Joe in 3 days. Your father and I are going to the wedding." Mrs. Croft glanced at her sons. It was clear they were not worthy of her. "No, no," they both shouted at the same time. "We don't agree to her getting married." Mrs. Croft found this laughable. "What do you mean no? Who are you to disagree? It's her life, her choice. You're regretting it now because you didn't know how to cherish her when you had the chance. By the way, Arya didn't invite you, so don't even think about going to Silver Creek. She's not letting us come to the wedding." This news was an even greater blow to them. They knew Arya was still angry with them. They knew they had wronged her, but for her to marry someone else and not even allow them at the wedding was a devastating rejection. "That's right. She said she doesn't want you at the wedding. She only invited your father and me," Mrs. Croft said, her tone unforgiving. It was a good lesson for them. Maybe now they would learn how to treasure the people they loved. "Mom, could you please ask her? Tell her we just want to be there. After all these years, we hope she can give us that much." "Yeah, Mom, we really want to go. Please," they begged. Mrs. Croft softened slightly. "I'll talk to Arya. But if she says no, there's nothing I can do." "Okay, Mom, we won't push it." After they left their mother, they went to Arya's old room. Hearing that she was getting married, it was impossible not to feel anything. After all the years they had spent together, they had both always loved her. Now she was abandoning them to marry someone else. Miles couldn't hold back a small sob. "Julian, Arya's marrying someone else? It hurts so much. I really love her. It's all my fault. We never should have hurt her. She's not going to marry someone else. She's coming back to the Croft house with us," Julian said, the smoke from his cigarette swirling around him. His Arya would stay with them. Even if she didn't marry him, she would never marry anyone else. Mrs. Croft spoke to Arya about Julian and Miles attending the wedding. Arya was hesitant. She truly didn't want to see them. But it was Mrs. Croft asking, and she found it hard to refuse. Liam, his arm around Arya's waist, asked gently, "Are you conflicted?" "Yes, I don't want them at the wedding." Seeing them would only bring back painful memories of her time at the Croft house. "But Auntie and Uncle have always been so good to me. Now that she's asked, I don't know how to say no. Liam, would you be angry?" "No." Liam leaned down and kissed her forehead. "As long as you're by my side, I'm happy. I won't get angry over something like this. Thank you, Liam." For Arya, what others thought wasn't as important as Liam's feelings. She didn't want him to be upset or feel any resentment towards the Croft brothers because of this. "All right, don't be sad. I'll take you to the shooting range. It's fun." "Okay." Liam took Arya to a shooting range. Dressed in professional gear, he stood out, drawing admiring glances just as he had in university. The campus legend was a natural star wherever he went. Back then, even Arya couldn't help but steal a few extra glances whenever she saw him. As Arya was lost in thought, Liam pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her to guide her into the correct shooting stance. Their heads were so close she could feel his warm breath on her skin, making her blush. "What are you thinking about?" Liam's voice was a pleasant, low murmur. "I was just thinking, why did you save me back then, in those mountains? Going back in was so dangerous." Arya had wanted to ask this question for a long time. Back then, when she was trapped in the mountains, no one dared to go back for her. The teachers and other students were all waiting for a professional rescue team. They knew that with the rain and the approaching night, there was a real risk of hypothermia. But Liam had come back for her. He had carried her, step by step, out of danger. "Because you're Arya Yun, the same little girl who used to grab my hand and call me Liam Jeej, asking me to protect you forever." Unfortunately, his little girl had been taken away. They had been separated for so long. At the time, he hadn't wanted the Crofts to take her, but he was just a boy, powerless to stop it. But thankfully, it wasn't too late. He was with his Arya again, and soon she would be his wife. Listening to Liam's story, Arya finally understood why he had risked everything to come back for her that day. In the time they had spent together, she had been filled with happiness and gratitude. She had fallen in love with Liam. And so, she called Mrs. Croft and politely declined her request. She would not be inviting Julian and Miles to her wedding. The day before the wedding, Mr. and Mrs. Croft arrived. And with them, 2 uninvited guests. Julian and Miles. Mrs. Croft was mortified. "I'm so sorry, Arya. We didn't mean to bring them. They secretly bought tickets for the same flight and followed us. Don't worry, your uncle and I will make sure they don't ruin your wedding." Arya had refused to let them come. She hadn't expected them to just show up anyway. "It's okay, Auntie." Arya wasn't particularly surprised to see them. In a way, she had expected it. Weren't they always like this? Controlling her life, controlling her thoughts. Whenever anyone got close to her, they would go crazy and drive them away. She remembered in college, a guy from the basketball team had a crush on her and gave her a love letter. When Julian and Miles found out, they threw a fit. "How could you accept a love letter from someone else? Arya, you belong to us, you can't be with anyone else, it makes us jealous." "Yeah, Arya, you can't talk to him, they only want you for your looks and your money." Back then, she didn't understand. She only knew that she had grown up with them and didn't want to make them unhappy, so she rejected the basketball player. For a while after that, Julian and Miles watched her like hawks. Julian even put his work on hold to stay by her side, making sure she never got close to the other guy. She had mistaken their possessiveness for love, but it wasn't love, it was ownership. They treated her like their private property. It was only after being with Liam that Arya truly understood what love was. Love wasn't possession. It was freedom, comfort, and the right to choose, built on a foundation of absolute respect. "Arya, we came here not to cause trouble but to sincerely apologize. Please, can you forgive us?" "I'm sorry, I can't forgive you. If you behave and attend the wedding as guests, you are welcome. If you have any other ideas, I will have you thrown out." Arya's voice was cold. This time, she would not be soft. The pain she had endured at the Croft house was too much. Her attitude was a bitter pill for Julian and Miles to swallow. The obedient, pliable Arya they knew was gone. "Arya, you can't treat us like this. Our feelings for you are real. And this time, we truly know we were wrong. Have you forgotten all the good times we had together?" Miles pleaded, his voice laced with pain. Julian was silent, but his eyes were red, a dull ache in his chest. Arya's coldness cut him deeply. He had hoped that with time, she would remember the good things and be warmer towards them. He never expected her to become even colder, even more ruthless. "Forget? Of course I haven't forgotten. How could I forget all the things you did, helping Cassie bully me?" The hurt they had caused her was impossible to forget, and all for Cassie. Their faces fell once more. "Arya, what we did was wrong, but we were tricked by Cassie. She was just using us. Yes, it was Cassie. She's a terrible person, she manipulated us. But don't worry, she's been punished. She will never appear before you again, Julian said, a note of desperation in his voice. If they could just get rid of Cassie, maybe Arya would forgive them, and they could go back to how things were. Even if she didn't marry them, as long as the three of them were together, it would be enough. Arya didn't know if they were truly evil or just stupid. Either way, she was beginning to despise them. You say you were tricked by Cassie? Were you really? The day I went to visit my father, you abandoned me at the cemetery because Cassie got a snake bite. You said it was to teach me a lesson. That was your idea, both of you. If you had any brains at all, you would know that Cassie grew up in the countryside. She knows a venomous snake from a harmless one. And even if it was venomous, what does that have to do with me? You were just looking for an excuse to punish me. To punish me for not being obedient, and you used Cassie as your excuse. That night, she was alone, unable to get a ride, exhausted and starving. Where were Julian and Miles? They were at the hospital, coddling Cassie over a non-venomous snake bite. They didn't care if she lived or died. They let her walk all the way back, her shoes ruined, her feet bleeding. In that moment, she had truly understood what it meant to be completely and utterly disappointed. Her words made them flush with shame, but they were still unwilling to give up. They were about to argue further when Liam, who had been standing beside Arya, had heard enough. The princess he had risked his life to save had been bullied like this by these two. Teach them a lesson, a good one. If anything happens, it's on me, Liam ordered his men. In front of the Croft parents, Liam's men descended on the two brothers. Mrs. and Mr. Croft watched in silence. Their sons deserved it. They had failed the trust the Yun family had placed in them. Arya, Liam wrapped an arm around Arya and led her away, not wanting her to hear another word from them. He wouldn't have even let them set foot in Silver Creek if he had known the extent of the pain they had caused her. Arya's mother, her eyes filled with tears of rage, couldn't hold back. She walked over to the two men being beaten on the ground and kicked them. You despicable boys, and to think Arya always spoke so highly of you to me. You are truly vile. You bullied my precious daughter like this, you monsters. Arya had never told her family what had happened. They had been kept in the dark. Everyone left. Mr. and Mrs. Croft were utterly humiliated. You two should just go back home. Stop embarrassing us here. Your father and I can't even face the Yun family now. With that, they too left, leaving Julian and Miles bruised and alone. Go back. They would not go back so easily. Even if Arya hated them, they would not let her belong to another man. Right now, she was just blaming them for what happened with Cassie. Now that Cassie was gone, if they could just get Arya back home and treat her well like before, she would be moved. Everything would go back to the way it was. Julian began to form a plan. They stole their mother's phone and sent a message to Arya, asking her to meet. Arya, thinking it was from Mrs. Croft, didn't suspect anything. She was happy to spend some time with her, even during the busy wedding preparations. But when she arrived at the meeting spot, she realized she had been tricked. It was Julian and Miles. What are you doing? A terrible premonition washed over Arya. There was something different about them now, something unhinged. Arya, we're not doing anything. We just want to take you home. We know you're only with Liam Joe to make us angry. We understand, Julian said. Arya shook her head frantically. What are you talking about? Why would I want to make you angry? I truly want to marry Liam. Lies, you've known us for 20 years, and you've only known him for a few weeks. How could you be willing to marry him? He's tricked you, don't believe him. Miles was getting agitated. He couldn't believe that a few weeks could outweigh 2 decades of history. Arya was just acting out. Arya, we don't want you to regret this later. Come back with us. We can live like we used to, okay? Miles and I will spoil you. Cassie is gone, she'll never come back. We can go back to how it was. We can't go back, Julian. Miles. I don't love you anymore. I truly love Liam. Even after just a few weeks, he was willing to die for me. You would never do that. Arya's voice was rising with panic. The doors were locked. She was trapped here at their mercy. She was terrified. I don't believe it. I don't believe a single word. Arya, don't fight us. Just drink this and we'll take you away. A glass of drugged water was held out to Arya. Julian himself was holding it. "We don't want to hurt you, but we're afraid you won't listen. Just drink this, go to sleep, and we can go back to the city. Back to the Croft house. You can still have your dance company. We'll support you." "Julian, Miles, you're insane, you're completely insane, let me go." Arya was frantic now, terrified. They had reached a point of no return. She was afraid of what they might do in their rage. "Arya, just be good. One last time, okay?" Miles said, moving to help Julian restrain her so she would drink the water. Arya was crying, but they didn't care. Their only thought was to take her back. Just then, the doors burst open. Liam and a group of men stormed in, finding the horrifying scene. Arya, her hair disheveled, being forcibly held down by Julian and Miles as they tried to make her drink. They looked like madmen. The sight sent a jolt of white-hot rage through Liam. He lunged at them, hitting them with a ferocity he had never shown before. "You monsters, you absolute monsters." He was about to do more, but Arya stopped him, afraid he would go too far. As Liam led Arya away, he gave a final order to his men. "Get them out of Silver Creek. From this day forward, no Croft business is to operate in this city, and these two are never to come near Arya again." "Yes, Mr. Joe." Liam was a man of his word and his means. His orders were carried out swiftly. Julian and Miles were thrown out of the city. The Yun and Joe families joined forces to crush all of the Crofts' business interests in the region. This time, they had been truly provoked. Mr. and Mrs. Croft had no heart to attend the wedding. They were too ashamed. Their own sons had committed such a heinous act. They moved out of the main villa, wanting nothing more to do with Julian and Miles. "If you have any shred of humanity left, you will not go near Arya again. You will not do anything more to hurt her. You two are not human." 3 days later, the wedding proceeded as planned. It was held at the grandest hotel in Silver Creek, a union of the Yun and Joe families. It was the event of the year, with media and influencers all present to witness the magnificent ceremony. Liam knelt and placed the ring on Arya's finger. In that moment, Arya knew what true happiness felt like. After the wedding, Liam was a constant, devoted presence in her life. He was attentive and caring, skipping social events to be home with her on time. In his free time, he would accompany her to dance competitions around the world. He had kept his promise to her. "Arya, after we're married, whatever you want to do, I will always respect and support you." Liam had kept his word, and then some. Arya felt happier than she had ever been. As for the Croft brothers, she never saw them again, nor did she want to. She heard that their parents had also cut ties with them, completely disappointed. Miles's acting career went into a steep decline. Julian's company suffered one blow after another. Arya knew that Liam was behind it all, and she had no intention of stopping him. It was what they deserved.